Hello everyone. So this is going to be a live with Ivan from Adipeau, which is a cream that I've been using for 8 months and is an alternative to filler, so it plumps up the skin. So Adipeau means like adipose tissue. Let me add him right now. Can't remember how to do it. Here we go, add people. Let's see. Yay!
Yay.
Oh, just knocked over the camera. Hey Ivan, you alright?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm holding my phone, so just trying to figure out what the best angle is.
Yeah, I know. As well. I've got it on a tripod, which I just knocked over. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Thank you.
That's all right. Are you back in the UK?
I-
Where do you actually live? Is it New
I'm
York?
in New
Oh,
York.
yeah,
So
yeah, I thought so.
it's Sunday, so we may not even hear the traffic noises, but it's
Okay.
possible.
What time is it there?
It's 10 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that works out, doesn't it? So if you want to just maybe elaborate a little bit on how you discovered the two ingredients that plump the skin, like the adipose tissue, that would probably be a good start. Do you
Oh
reckon?
yeah. No, it's a good story because it was completely accidental.
Hmm.
Um, I knew that face oils regenerate fat cells, but there's a problem. They also fill the mature cells, and so the regeneration stops. It's suppressed at a certain point. When the mature cells get too big, um, the regeneration stops, the regeneration of the immature. So I wanted to add something exotic to a, rudimentary face oil. And I just, I was doing it really half-assed. And, one morning I was going through the scientific literature of what to add, and I came up with three ingredients. Um, and then I asked my formulator about them, and they said, "Oh, one and two are going to be difficult to formulate, but three is, fine. It's just a plant extract." And it turned out to be black ginger, Campharia parviflora, and that had the really important effect of reducing the size of the mature fat cells while stimulating the immature ones to proliferate. So
Okay.
that complete accident, I had no idea that was going to happen, but that's how the cream can sustain regeneration.
Right. Okay. Is
Yeah.
that is that like the brown fat thing? Because I get a bit confused with the science of the fats, but brown fat has something to do with either, is that the new fat or the old fat? I can't remember.
So so we have lots of different types of fat in our bodies. We actually have pink fat
Hmm.
as well. Not sure where that's located. We have very little brown fat.
Okay.
You know, very little. You can increase it slightly, but through cold exposure, but I don't even know that it's physiologically relevant.
Right.
But let's take a step back,
Yeah.
because we think of fat as just being like Play-Doh, right? It's the same everywhere. You know, most people want to lose it, some people want to gain it on their butts and breasts. But fat is a really sophisticated tissue, and there are very different types of fat throughout the body.
Hmm.
So the skin has its own specific
Right.
fat, dermal,
Okay.
adipose tissue. So dermal. So the skin's fat cells derive from a skin specific cell.
Right.
So it's completely it's different from the other fat in the body. It's just specialized, and it does a bunch of things that other fat in the body doesn't do. For example, um, it somehow senses when there are bacteria on the skin.
Hmm.
So the immature fat cells somehow sense. I'm not sure how the sensing mechanism work, but they sense when your skin is colonized with Staph aureus or even acne bacteria. And the preadipocytes, the immature cells, proliferate and release an antimicrobial substance called cathelicidin.
Right.
And this actually does away with the bacteria.
Wow. Wow, your fat cells do that, do they? They help the acne and stuff.
Yeah, in fact, Retin-A, right, is very effective for acne. And
Right. Yeah.
so it's been unclear what the actual mechanism is. How does it actually work? And there are a couple of researchers in California, really good researchers, like top people, Richard Gallo and his team. And they found that the way Retin-A works is it prevents the immature fat cells from maturing. So they're always on making this cathelicidin. And that
Right.
may be actually the key mechanism by which Retin-A treats acne. So it suppresses the immature cells from regenerating and becoming mature cells.
Oh, wow. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more of the immature cells to replicate, to build up the fat under the skin,
Correct.
yeah? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how retinol A actually lowers the fat underneath the skin.
Yeah. And I think that's actually probably the mechanism by which, so Retin-A, I've talked about this, and there are, world-class peer-reviewed papers showing the Retin-A causes thinning of both the dermis and the epidermis, pretty significant in the case of the dermis. So how does this happen? Because Retin-A doesn't actually get into the dermis. So I actually think that it's through this suppressive effect.
Wow.
So I've never talked about this before. So breaking news here. So hypothesis, Retin-A prevents new fat cells from forming. So the existing ones become bigger. So the mature ones become bigger because there's just not enough. It's like suitcases, right? If you have only one suitcase and you need to pack all your stuff into it, it's going to get pretty full and pretty big. But if you have two suitcases, you can pack them neatly, and the suitcases aren't like all like groaning with weight, distended. And the same thing with fat cells. If you have enough, they're all like good shape, good function. Because Retin-A is suppressing the formation of new cells, the remaining ones get bigger, and that actually does two bad things. One is those big fat cells send signals to the fibroblasts to stop making collagen and elastin. Just stop. 70% reduction.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is research from Shiseido. It's published research that anyone can actually find, and we'll provide links later. But yeah, Shiseido published this study that says, okay, how does large fat cell cause skin weakening? And it's through through messaging to fibroblasts.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard before about people, because I've not got into the retinol thing, I've never used it, but I've heard people say that it initially works and then their skin starts to sag, and I think that must be from the heavy fat cells, the old fat cells that have become more full, just then pulling the skin down. Is that what you'd say?
Pulling the skin down, but also actively weakening the skin by instructing the fibroblasts, right, to stop making collagen.
Right.
So the fibroblasts are in the dermis. It's very hard to reach them with a topical, but you can modulate their activity by what your fat cells look like. So if your fat cells are fit, they're small, they send out messages. So fat cells speak like 8 different languages. Their own language is they use substances called adipokines. So adipose cell specific cytokines. So you may have heard of cytokines with like TNF alpha, IL-6, IL-8. Those are cytokines made mostly by immune cells.
Right.
The fat cells make their own cytokines, and that's just one of the languages that fat cells speak. So they speak like 7 or 8 other languages.
Wow.
And so when they're speaking to the fibroblasts, they're sending out messages like, yes, I'm sensing that you should make collagen. No, I'm sensing you should stop.
Wow.
And so the fibroblasts are really like the worker bees, and the fat cells are the foremen. They're sort of telling the fibroblasts what to do.
Yeah. Makes sense. And I've seen your documents with the little fat cells. We want lots of little ones instead of like the big, you know, like you said, the mature ones that are just gathering more fat. Yes.
Well, the mature ones, you know, they're heroic. They're getting big because they're absorbing lipids that they don't want to go to other cells because those lipids are toxic to other
Mm-hmm.
cells. So they're doing a heroic function, except that once they get big, it's sort of like the hero carrying a bigger and bigger and bigger load, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they can't behave the same way. They behave differently. So they're not bad. They're just compromised.
Yeah. I've heard that about eye creams actually, that certain eye creams then the fat absorbs under there and then it creates more sagging like underneath the eyes. That's probably
Yeah,
where, yeah.
yeah. So that's what I experienced when I first started developing the product. So I was using a just really a product that had cottonseed oil in it. That was the
Mm-hmm.
main ingredient. It was off the shelf product, and that's how I discovered that long chain fatty acids from oils are actually beneficial to fat cells because I had a very severe dermatitis, and
Mm-hmm.
this cottonseed oil based cream helped my dermatitis, and it was able to do it because I really didn't have. I was starting from zero. I had no fat because I treated my skin with a steroid based cream for 4 years. You're only
Okay.
supposed to use it for 6 weeks. And so my whole skin was just gone. I had nothing. And so then I thought, oh wow, the cottonseed oil cream, helped my skin. Let's see if we can use it on the face. And I got a 3D camera and I started testing this cottonseed oil cream on people's faces, and it did build volume, but it was saggy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the elevator one morning with my daughter. She was 12 at the time, and she said, "Daddy, what did you do to your face?" Because I looked like heavy, like big heavy cheeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was sort of like, you know what? This may not be such a good idea. uh,
Bless her.
yeah.
Well, also, I mean, that's great that you've covered the retinol A because I think that's a burning question for a lot of people. And I saw you post about it, so I really want to speak about that. What have you got on hyaluronic acid then? What? Because I kind of knew that it wasn't good anyway, but what have you found out about that with fat cells?
So hyaluronic acid is anti-adipogenic, so it prevents new fat cells from forming. But the bigger issue with hyaluronic acid is it compromises the skin barrier, especially the lower weight form, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people say, okay, hyaluronic acid, it holds 1,000 times its weight in water, right? And
Mm.
that sounds like a good thing, right?
Mm.
1,000 times. But let's say it was like 1,000,000 times, right? Let's say it held 1,000,000 times its weight in water, right? Then you'd be a little worried, right? Because you'd put like a little bit of hyaluronic acid on your skin, and all of a sudden it would suck up water from all over your body, and the water would be dysregulated. You'd have water just around the hyaluronic acid and absent everywhere else. Well,
Mm.
that still happens when it holds 1,000 times its weight in water. Just the effect is not as dramatic, but it's still still pretty damaging
Mm.
because hyaluronic acid draws water from everywhere it can. It draws water from the skin. It draws water from the environment, and it connects to itself, right? So hyaluronic acid can bind to itself, and so you start to see like a river of water, like a little rivulet of water forming through your skin. And that's why hyaluronic acid is used as a penetration enhancer.
Mm-hmm.
So you can attach like a very large growth factor that's like 15,000 Dalton. You can attach it chemically to hyaluronic acid. And this growth factor, which wouldn't otherwise be able to get into the skin, can now get into the skin and get into the dermis. So that's really, I think, the big issue with hyaluronic acid is repetitive use creates like little holes in your skin where like they're really ducts of
Right.
water.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that about it. That's, yeah, I knew that it kind of pulls, so you feel like it's hydrating, but then it's like one of those things, a bit like, Vaseline or what is it, paraffinium liquidum, the Vaseline ingredient, that you feel like it hydrates immediately, but then you need it more and more, and it becomes kind of addictive. But when you're not using it, you look really dry and shriveled, and that's the problem with it.
Yeah, it's reallocating the water,
Mm,
right? It's not, where does the water come from?
yeah.
It's just a reallocation, and also, I mean, hyaluronic acid, the way, if you actually look at and I'm going to do a video on this for educator, it's so time consuming to put this together. But if you look at the way hyaluronic acid is actually structured in your skin, it's incredibly
Mm,
precise, incredibly precise. So you have these branches of hyaluronic acid, and um, and on these branches you add little branches of other glycoaminoglycans. It's incredibly precise structure. So think about just jamming a bunch of hyaluronic acid in,
mm,
right? It's not going to adopt that like very beautiful, sophisticated structure. It's just going to be like, okay, here's a load of branches, right?
mm,
Yeah, it's amazing how when marketing takes over, all common sense disappears.
yeah.
It's like that phrase, 1,000 times its weight. It just sounds like such a great marketing story that people don't think about the ramifications.
Mm,
Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about is really, we so focus on creams and procedures and so on, but really the two main things that you can do for your skin's fat cells are really, they don't cost anything. The main
mm-hmm.
factor is regular exercise.
Yeah.
So that is like absolutely number one. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be, a few minutes spread out throughout the day. But that, this, right? So exercise is really, it's maintaining your metabolism. It's keeping just things running properly. It's like, if you don't use that bike, if you've got it in the garage for 2 years and you take it out and it's all rusted. So exercise is keeping everything running.
Mm,
And you don't have to go crazy. You don't even have to go to the gym. Just throughout the day, a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, and that's really maintaining your whole body, but also your skin. It's really
yeah.
fun. It's really the most fundamental thing.
Circulation.
Like
It's anti-aging is circulation, basically.
number one, I mean, clear number one,
Mm,
and number two is diet,
mm,
right? So because the fat cells are constantly regenerating, right? They're always regenerating. So even old people in their 80s think, okay, no more regeneration for those guys, but still, they're regenerating. And so what are the nutrients that you take orally that feed that regeneration? And the main one is
mm,
protein. So protein is the regenerative macronutrient. It's regenerative for your skin, for your hair, for your bones, for everything. And so, I mean, if you get, and if you get enough protein and you're exercising regularly, that's a great
mm.
foundation from which, to have good skin.
Yeah.
I mean that. So, what's his name? Oh God, I always forget his name. But there's a doctor like in the oh man, in the 2000s. He had, of course, a skincare line, but he'd write these books like Doctor So and So's Skin Diet, and he was telling people to eat, salmon, just salmon for some reason, not other proteins.
Yeah.
But I guess that's to make the diet seem like special. But it's the protein, it's not the salmon.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. There's so much with diet, isn't there? But everyone wants to. Oh, I do. I really rate looking after your skin as well, having a good routine. But I think it's not. Coming away from fillers is just like an instant fix, isn't it? Well, not really a fix, but it's an instant, thing that they visibly see. But taking after your skin is a lifestyle thing, and also having a good routine as well. of what you actually then put on your skin at night and stuff.
Totally. Taking care of your skin is just an extension of taking care of your body. Yeah.
Yeah. So you did have the two other ingredients were the green tea, caffeine, and then the green tea extract. So they're definitely not.
Yeah. They both suppress fat cell regeneration, and they're really not necessary. I mean, that's the thing is if they were necessary, right? Then you think, okay, what's the trade-off? Okay, how could you use them? So, like, and I'm not telling people what to do. Like, that's not my role, right? I'm just giving people information, and they can make their own decisions. So, people, for example, with Retin-A, they know I'm not a big fan of Retin-A, but if you have acne, right? I say, all right, let's figure out how we can use Retin-A to treat the acne that doesn't compromise the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if you can find a reason why you should use caffeine, or one of my friends just said Perricone, Dr. Perricone, he's the one that had the books.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, if there's a reason to use the green tea, then you can think about a way to do it, that it works for you.
Mm.
But just and if it's working for you, then that's the reason. So I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying understand that it has this effect, and then take that into consideration.
Well, I think the caffeine is, again, a good stimulant. Like we said, circulation, we need that. That's why it's good for hair growth and different things. But the fact that it is actually detrimental to our immature fat cells is obviously, not what we want.
Yeah. And you don't need the caffeine. You can just, if you rub your skin like this, it will redden, right? Which means that the blood flow is increasing.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
You can even microneedle. One of my favorite estheticians, Pam Smith, uses a quote unquote needle, but it's just a roller with knobs, and it's enough to stimulate the blood flow. You don't actually have to create holes in the skin. You just stimulate that blood flow. Gua Sha does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just simple things.
Yeah, I've got a yin yang roller, it's called. It's got two ends that are like spiky, and I've used it for years. It's brilliant. And again, gets all the blood and circulation up, and that's what we want to achieve, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that sort of okay, so what does circulation do? How does that help the fat cells? So circulation is sending all of the good growth factors into the skin, right? So and in order for those immature fat cells to convert, they need a bunch of signals, right? There's the growth factors that they're getting from the circulation. There's is there inflammation on the skin surface? If there is, then the keratinocytes on the skin surface aren't sending other growth factors down to the fat cells. So the fat cells are constantly monitoring, all right, should I mature? Should I not? And the growth factor is from the circulation, is one of the main signals that they get in order to determine whether they convert or not. So that, again, is a really positive modality.
Yeah. But like with exercise as well, the people that vigorously exercise, and then they lose a lot of actual fat, don't they, in their face? So it's kind of like that balance, isn't it? Just hitting that sweet spot.
Yeah, and that's everything is nothing is just good or bad. It's good in a range and bad in a certain range. And I don't even say vigorous exercise is bad. It's great. It's great for your heart. It's great for your lungs. It's great for your mind because you derive pleasure from that vigorous exercise. But what it does do is it creates a window of inflammation post-exercise. So post-exercise, there's actually, the cytokines are released, the pro-inflammatory cytokines, for a window of 1 to 4 hours. And so my hypothesis is that part of the wasting in the face is that, when you have this window every day for 4 hours, over years, during those 4 hours, the fat cells aren't regenerating.
Okay.
So you're basically very slowly developing a deficit.
Right. So what do you think the key is then for that?
I think it's fine, right? Vigorous exercise is fine, right? But then, there are things you can do. You can take a cold shower. You can post exercise. That will, I think, will shorten that inflammatory window. Um, Actually, one thing I recommend is tart cherry juice. It's a, post exercise, just take a shot of the tart cherry juice. That's anti-inflammatory without being anti-adipogenic. So a lot of the classic anti-inflammatory things like curcumin are also anti-adipogenic. Another one is CBD. CBD is a good one because it's anti-inflammatory, pro-adipogenic. Yeah,
Really? Not into
yeah.
CBD at all. I really love
CBD
the
is
cherry
good.
juice. I love the cherry juice, but CBD I've
Yeah,
been like slating that for years.
yeah,
But yeah, I suppose, maybe on that front is okay.
yeah.
But it's kind of addictive and gives you anxiety and stuff.
Yeah.
Another thing you spoke about, which was really interesting, was the red light therapy. So I've had a mask and I used it like every single day because it's so relaxing for a good like year and a half. And then when I saw your post where you say, I think is it over 3 weeks or 3 months that you're supposed to max out and then stop. Is that right?
Yeah, so this is actually, we have another mention of Dr. Perricone
Okay.
coming up. So Dr. Perricone did another good thing. So he used to, of course, he made his own red light device. You can't buy it anymore because they don't sell it. But he's actually the only one who actively put the right instructions on his machine. He said, use it twice a week for 4 weeks for 20 minutes, and then wait 3 months
Oh,
to use
that's
it again.
okay.
Yeah.
Twice a week for 20 minutes.
So
And then,
2 positive mentions of Dr.
yeah,
Perricone.
he sounds good. I'm going to check him out. Yeah, because it was interesting because I was using it all the time and I went for a facial and she was like, wow, your skin's really dry. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what? Why? And then I was like, yeah, I use my red light therapy. She said, that's drying your skin out. And I was like, I didn't even know really that it was doing
Yeah, because the manufacturers, they won't tell you, right? I mean, you have to really search.
Yeah.
So I'm going to mention another company, Omnilux. I mean, you have to search to find in their frequently asked questions. And so when, one of their questions is, can I use it every day, forever? And they sort of say, well, you may or may not want to do that. But they
Right.
should say, no, you shouldn't do that. We have
Mm.
no evidence that that actually helps.
Did you say that it then, so twice a week for 20 minutes and for 3 months? No?
No, for 1 month.
For 1 month and
Twice,
then 3 months off.
twice a week, yeah, and then 3 months off, which is great because that way you could actually share a red light device with a
Yeah,
friend.
it's true,
You could say, okay, it's yours. You like 4 friends could share a device. Okay,
yeah.
so you use it for a month, and then friend 1 uses it, friend 2, friend 3, and then then it's your turn again.
Because do you say that it produces more collagen that way, and then if you carry on using it, what happens again?
We don't know.
Oh, right, okay.
We don't know. They didn't do that study.
Right.
The study they did, they used it just for a month. And what they saw is that only after you stop does the skin actually start to improve.
Right, that's the thing. Right. Yeah, it
But
makes
it
sense.
makes sense. Like you like energize it. It's like sending energy. You're energizing all those cells. And then you need to give them time to respond to that energy. And then like you can just imagine, like I mean, I have no evidence for this, but you can just imagine, okay, I'm energized, I want to get to work, and I'm getting another bolt of energy. All right, I just have to absorb that. So you don't know, right? You don't know whether that's going to have a positive effect or not.
Yeah, it does make sense. Break. Yeah, for sure.
I figured out how to position my face, so I'm showing the good side.
Yeah, you got to get the light behind you.
Yeah.
Window. Let's have a little look if there's any questions, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically to recap on the red light therapy is 1 month on, 3 months off.
Correct.
And it's just
Correct.
times 20 minutes. Yeah. cherry juice. Yeah, it's the it used to be called Cherry Active. Is that the one that you use? That's the one I've used. The cherry juice.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like cherry juice, what tart cherry juice, yeah.
Can it help with sagging the cheeks? I really want to get to this point as well, because obviously for months I was using Adipeau, but I think I was putting an oil underneath, and you shouldn't have any oil, should you? Because then I switched to just doing rose water, then Adipeau, because obviously you need to seep through the hair shaft to get to that deeper layer. So it's kind of key to not have any oil underneath your skin before you put it on, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know to what extent it would interfere.
Okay.
I mean, if it's absorbing, right, then it's absorbing, right, then it's getting in.
Okay.
So I just, why use the other face oil, right? I mean, yeah, unless you just love it, right? It might smell great, I'm all for
Yeah.
doing like things that don't work if they give you pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Because you get endorphins at least,
Yeah,
or feel good.
it's a
Feel good.
ritual.
Yeah. So I wasn't using it under my eyes, but I've started doing that now. But I don't use it on my forehead. What do you think about forehead stuff? Can you build
See,
it?
it does, obviously will work on the forehead. It's just like the forehead is so big. It
Yeah.
just like, and the cream is expensive,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, all right, don't, don't squander it on the forehead. But here's the thing that I want to talk about is that once you attain facial fat fitness with or without the cream, right? Your fat cells actually start doing the work on their own, right? So you can like, let's say you're using the cream, start out using it twice a day, then you switch to once a day, then you can switch to once every other day, then you can switch to once a week. Because once your fat cells are healthy, right, they don't need as much help, right? They can do it themselves. And so that's how I would do it, like, or wipe the excess on the forehead, like you're putting it on your face, and then you can wipe the excess on the forehead or the back of your hands to get the benefit.
Or the neck as well. Got anything for the neck? Because that seems to be.
Well, we have our body cream coming out next month.
Yes. How's that work?
So it's the same concept, but more towards strengthening.
Right.
It's not the face cream watered down. We really just started from scratch to come up with something, because it's like, you only have so many chances to make new products, so might as well do something new. So it feels completely different. It absorbs faster, and it's really more for strengthening the skin and repairing the barrier.
So has it got the black ginger and the safflower?
Black ginger, but no safflower. We went to macadamia nut oil, and also much, much, much lower amount, because we wanted it to absorb quickly without using alcohol.
Yeah.
So it absorbs within like 3 or 4 minutes.
Nice. Yeah. Problem with
Yeah.
skin cream, body cream. Someone said that the Volifine, is it called Volifine? Because I did get into that before I found yours. How is it different? I think you say it sags? Does it probably feed the mature cells instead of the immature?
I mean, I just happened to look at the Volufiline. They have a scientific paper that they've put together, and they haven't published, which is suspect, because they've been around for a year. We're only publishing this year. We're publishing our data this year, but in there, it's an extensive document, and surprisingly, their cream isn't activating either one of the two main stimulants or regenerative factors. So there's two main ones: PPAR gamma and CBP. And the Volufiline does a lot of things, but it doesn't seem to turn those on. So I'm skeptical. I wouldn't say it doesn't work. I'm just skeptical.
Mm.
And then, you know, they did their study on breast size.
Yeah.
So they measured breast size. They got a 2% increase in breast size. Um, I don't think it was statistically significant. And I mean, with breast size, the breasts are not exposed to the sun, and there's
Mm-hmm.
really not a significant loss, I think, of cells. So I think what's going on with the breasts is I don't know if it's restoring lost fat as much as it is expanding mature cells.
Right.
So it's easy to expand mature cells. You just put oil and it will
Mm-hmm.
expand.
No, it's really interesting. I didn't really know about the mature versus immature cells. It's really interesting, that part. I wonder if it's also just like enhancing estrogen. I know some things like dill, essential oil, and they kind of enhance estrogen in the body, so it gives that plumping effect as well. So whether it works like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's real. I'm going to take another look, but I doubt that there's any data. It's not a very well studied ingredient.
Mm-hmm.
And with black ginger, we know even before we publish, there are 5 or 6 publications in the peer review
Mm-hmm.
saying that it is regenerative, saying that it reduces fat cell size.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so you don't really need to trust me, even though I'd like to think that I'm trustworthy. You can just look and see. I mean, all the data is out there in the peer review.
Mm. Well, it's a circulation thing, isn't it? Black ginger is just literally like the biggest. Ginger is just spicy and stimulating. Black ginger is just an amplified version, isn't it?
Black ginger is really unique. It's really not so much a ginger as it is like a type of curcumin,
Okay.
and it's very unique. It has very unique properties. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's a really interesting ingredient. Okay, so what are people saying? Yeah, hyaluronic acid's in pretty much everything. Yeah, it's so true. It's really hard to avoid. What else have we got? So maybe we'll just ask people now if they've got questions, because I'm going through and there's not that many just comments really. What are the dangers of the Botox? Well, there's a whole group on Instagram. I think it's called No Tox, and there's a group on Facebook, like thousands of people with. I've got a slide in my stories actually that can direct people to that. But
Okay.
yeah, we know that a lot of, unless you want to say something about Botox or fillers, but I don't know. Do we want to go there?
I think it's very, very simple. I mean, both Botox and fillers will reduce lymphatic drainage, and lymphatic drainage is so important. And with respect to fat cells, so lymph is mostly lipid, and so if it's not draining out, if it's not being removed, the fat cells are there to take it up because they're, again, the heroes. They want to prevent other cells from getting in contact with those lipids, and so they take them up and they become bloated. So it's a good way of enlarging fat cell size is reducing lymph clearance.
Yeah, it's a completely opposite effect to, you either just freeze everything or you keep the flow of everything. And I've always been like, keep the flow.
Keep the flow. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, what I will say about Adipeau is that it's definitely like a long-term thing. I reckon like a good 6 months before, 3 to 6 months before you kind of see the difference, don't you? It's not a quick fix. It's just a regular thing.
Yeah, because the skin has a cycle, right? So it's very, I mean, it's very sophisticated, right? So you have a cycle of, I don't know, 30 days or so, and your keratinocytes are regenerating. You've got stem cells that are going out of the hair follicle niche and becoming preadipocytes. Then you have preadipocytes converting to adipocytes. It's like, it's a process. It's not like, it's very, very regimented. And so the cream can only act, within, if it's working with the skin, it can only act in concert with that cycle. So, in 3 months you have 3 cycles, in 6 months you have 6 cycles.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
I definitely need to get a tripod. It's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Oh, someone's saying they're doing a live on Botox and fillers, so we'll have to check that out. The alternative facialist. So I don't know. Is there anything else? Have you ever looked into MSN as an ingredient?
No,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's a sulfur compound.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, look into it, because that's what I've been using on my skin for like 7 years. I've made my own with it, 4% MSN, so, and I really rate it. But yeah, I'd love to see what you could dig around for that.
Yeah, no, I'm all about endorsing other good modalities.
Yeah, I like how you dig into the science. You're good at that. And one more thing, niacinamide, obviously, is good for pigmentation, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a really good ingredient. I mean, it doesn't do any harm. It's necessary. It's I'm positive about niacinamide.
Yeah, I like niacinamide. My cheeks are already too full. Is it okay? Is it okay around them? So yeah, I suppose you just put it on the areas that you want to fill out, don't you? And maybe leave the ones you don't.
Well, it will, if your cheeks are too full because you're carrying excess weight, it will actually make you look like you lost a few pounds in the face. Yeah. So I've only been treating this side and not this side.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a video where I squeeze my cheeks, and the side on which I've been using the product, there's much less fat, actually, because the size has decreased.
Right. Because there's lots of little fat cells instead of the big.
Lots of little fat cells. Right. Yeah. I've got to do that video.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I just put it on my whole cheeks because I just don't want to look gone. I've got a fear of looking skinny. But maybe it will just make everything healthier anyway.
Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been really good to chat. I'm just reading through now. Let me see. Will this be recorded? Yeah, it's definitely going to be recorded. Just thoughts on, I don't know what that says. Is she trying to say astaxanthin?
Yeah. Astaxanthin is, I would take it orally, right, instead of topically, because it will really help your skin with the sun damage. Yeah. 4 milligrams.
Yeah. It really does stop you from burning, doesn't it? Okay, I think that might be it then. There's quite a lot. Well, we can save this anyway, and there can be, questions on the post.
And when we put it live, when we record it and put it up, I'm gonna, if you DM me with your email, right? I have a brochure that I use for training estheticians, and I'm happy to email it to anyone who has more questions.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Oh, thank you so much, Ivan. It's been really good to talk, and I feel like I've learned loads as well about these fat cells. Yeah,
and we'll do it again. Yeah, because I think we're just, in some cases, just touching the surface of things. But I love your perspective. I love how, you're not a gotcha person. You're just all right, let's think about how we can put all the pieces together.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and understand some, because I've sent some stuff to you. I'm like, I can't really understand this. Can you make sense of it for me? So yeah, it's really good to get someone that can understand all those scientific documents that are skewed sometimes as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and really, a lot of, the problem is branding, right? To create a brand, the easiest thing to do is just to dismiss something and to or to put out some information that's out of context, but it seems oh, it's really interesting. I've never heard that before. And people who do that are actually disrupting people's knowledge and ability to integrate information. And so what I want to do just the opposite. I want to help people integrate information so that they can really build a knowledge base and feel comfortable and feel like they're getting it. Yeah.
Yeah, making science understandable, that's the thing, isn't it? Because otherwise it's like glaze over.
Yeah, and explaining the connections between two things or three things.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Ivan. And yeah, let's catch up again when you've got your body cream, or if you've dug into any other ingredients that we need to know about that.
Yeah, we'll send you the body cream. It's gonna be I think very well received.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
That's all right.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.